I'm Katherine G. McRae, and you're watching Perspective. My guest today is Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. Welcome, Jaclynne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Perspective. Jaclynne, you have a degree in political science.
I do.
So I'm guessing you have a long-held interest in politics.
Yep.
I'm just wondering why you decided to throw your name in the ring.
Yeah, so there's a lot at risk in this election. I think that the choice between parties and leaders has never been starker. And when I saw the Ontario Liberal platform, I was really excited and energized by the investments that I was seeing, the plan forward for the province. It's a roadmap, I think, for where we need to go and how we're going to get there. So I decided to throw my name in the hat and fight for something. I think that there's a lot to fight for in this election. So I was proud to do that, and I'm proud to be a candidate.
Very exciting. Sault Ste. Marie has some serious issues with mental health and addiction. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to those issues on what you would do if you were elected?
Yeah, so I worked in the mental health care field for a little while here in the Soo, and what I saw specifically for young people were gaps in service. They're doing an amazing job when it comes to mental health care, but we can always do better. So when I saw specifically the investments of $2.1 billion for mental health care in the budget, that was something that I was passionate about. It spoke to me. It's lived experience, and so I kind of thought this might be something that is going to help people, because it's a holistic approach, right? So you're not just talking about mental health. Without mental health, there is no health. So we want to make sure that we're addressing a host of issues with one particular investment, and that's what I think this is going to do. You're not just going to address the mental health of people, but you're going to address homelessness, and opioids here are obviously a concern. So when you're making investments in people's mental health, those are important investments that mean that other facets of their life are going to be healthy as well. And with healthy people, you have healthy communities. So it's something that I'm certainly passionate about. It's one of the planks of our platform that I'm most proud of, and I'm very, very looking forward to seeing that come to fruition.
So in terms of actual action on the ground in Sault Ste. Marie, can you speak to that as
Absolutely.
to what that would involve?
Yep. So we've so far invested $222 million in response to the crisis that's here, right? So we have invested $70 million to invest in those rapid access clinics. I know that the one here just opened up on East Street, and they're reporting success thus far. So like I said, though, we know that better is possible. And so when we're looking at the investments in mental health care, I think it's important that we continue to invest in those types of supports, which means, increased frontline workers. It's going to mean increased access to needle exchange programs, safe injection sites, which are proven to work. So
would it expand those clinics as well?
Yes. Yeah, so those investments we're looking at, like I said, it's a holistic approach that, are going to hit on those issues, but many others in our community, and those are the types of things that I'm very proud of.
Okay, great. So in Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma Steel is a big employer.
Yes.
What would you do if you were elected as a Liberal candidate to ensure that those jobs remain well-paying, viable jobs, and the steel plant runs a healthy business?
Yeah. So listen, Algoma has been in CCAA now for 3 years. It's been a process that I know has been difficult for not only the people that are working at the steel mill, but the people in our community, right? It is a backbone employer in our community. So it's important to make sure that they're getting the support that they need to move through that process. Now, the provincial government has done all of the work asked of it so that they're able to reach the point that they're at now, which is a tentative agreement with their unions. I think that that's an encouraging indicator that we are very near the end of the CCAA process. I'm hopeful that we'll see them emerge from that very soon, but I'm encouraged by the action that's been undertaken so far by the government, working with union leaders, working with stakeholders. It's been a partnership approach, so I'm very, very happy to see that they are at that stage, and I'm encouraged by our continued commitment to make sure that they come out of that process, honoring the work that's been done so far. Premier Wynne was the only leader to respond to Mayor Provenzano's letter, and I think that that's very indicative of our commitment to that process and commitment to Algoma. We've supported it in the past. We want to make sure that steel thrives in this community, so that the community itself thrives, because steel is cyclical. We see when steel is on the upswing, things get a little bit better in this community. So just supporting them to make sure that we're on that right path is very important, and I'm truly committed to that.
Excellent. We're also concerned that the pensioners get their fair share, fair due. as well, as I know is a concern on the street.
Yes. Well, I mean, so when you're looking at pensions, that's normally a federal issue, right? So what I want to point out is that we're committed to working with everyone throughout this process. The union leadership is working incredibly hard to make sure that the deal that they are arriving at is good for everyone involved. So I fully have faith in the union leadership and their ability to advocate on behalf of pensioners and the people in their unions to get at something that works for everyone. And I think that they're there, right? They have that tentative agreement. So I trust that they have reached something that will be beneficial to everyone involved.
Excellent. I think we have to go to a break now, and we'll be back with Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. We're back. I'm Katherine G. McRae, and you're watching Perspective. My guest is Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. Jaclynne, before the break, we were talking about the steel plant and the investments and initiatives that the Liberal government is undertaking for the steel plant. As the main employer, we still have a serious out-migration of youth in the Soo. Not everybody wants to work in heavy industry, but we see a lot of youth graduating from Soo College, from Algoma University, and then they're leaving the Soo with those skills.
Yep.
What can we do about that?
Yeah, so this is actually something that is really personal to me because I face the same decision that a lot of youth in our community have to face. I had been working for a little while and my contract unfortunately came to an end and I was faced with almost 8 months of unemployment. So, you know, it's hard to look around in a community for that long trying to find, work to try and pay down some student debt. I was faced with the decision of having to leave, and I know that that is the story of a lot of youth in our community. When we're looking at ways to try and keep youth here, we're not only looking at retaining youth, but we're looking at attracting youth. So investments in education are very important to that because once you expand your programs, once you are investing in programs that are going to attract people to the community, once they have a northern education and they put down some roots here, it's a lot harder for them to leave, right? So it not only results in people coming up here for school, but you're also looking at a job market that is then diversifying and growing. So, you know, they may be people that eventually look to open a small business. They can look to supports like the NOHFC to do that. So they're looking at ways at investments that are going to keep our youth here. The other thing is that, you know, we have an aging demographic here in this city, so it's a challenge certainly now, but it will also be one in the future. So we need to make sure that we're putting investments in place and programs in place to attract people that will come back to this community or stay in this community so that we have people that are able to take care of our aging population. Investments in things like apprenticeships are critical for that because, you know, you're looking at a skills gap here. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging young people to join the trades, we're encouraging and giving them tools to connect them with employers in this community so that they're having an easier time finding jobs and, you know, vice versa, employers are finding employees a lot easier as well. Other than that, we're looking at investments in terms of attracting people to fields such as PSW work. So, you know, kind of hand in hand with the fact that we have an aging population here, it's important that we're investing in programs that are going to attract them to fields where, you know, care is sort of the pillar of that, right? So we want to make sure that we're not only creating opportunities for more long-term care beds, but we're creating opportunities for the support staff to go with them and attracting people to those roles here in the community. I think that's important. I think that youth out-migration is something that as a community we've been facing for a while. So I'm encouraged to see things, you know, like the mayor's youth council, those types of initiatives that are working here in the city. And as your MPP, I would be interested in looking at, you know, hearing directly from youth some of the supports that they need in order to stay in this community. But I think that the investments that we're making are truly going to make a difference in terms of keeping people here. Other things that we're looking at doing, you know, looking to the Atlantic provinces for a pilot project. So they have an immigration pilot project right now where they're looking at increasing the flow of skilled workers. So something like that could work in Northern Ontario. You know,
so the Liberal government is looking at that pilot project for a possibility to implement it in Sault Ste. Marie?
So municipally they are looking at that. So a lot of the large urban mayors just met actually in Sault Ste. Marie a few weeks ago, and they signaled their intention to look at something very similar to that project in order to try and increase immigration up to the northern region. So, you know, we are very similar to the Atlantic provinces, just in the type of unique challenges that we face. Of course, ours are a little bit different, but when you're looking at, what's working there, there is an opportunity that those things will work here as well.
Plus, our winters are bad, but not that bad.
Exactly. So I'm encouraged by those, and I would be in a position to support that work and support the direction that the municipality sees fit, because they know the city the best, right? They're your municipal leaders. My job as an MPP is to be there to support that work. So I'm encouraged by that. I think that, on top of all the investments that the government is looking at making and that are in our Liberal Party platform, I think that it will go a long way to addressing the youth out-migration problem here, and I'm encouraged by that.
Okay. Coming from a trades background myself, there was a Price Cooper's Waterhouse study done back in the 80s that predicted the shortage of skilled trades people in industry.
Yes.
And that has come to fruition as was predicted. So with the programs that the Liberal government would implement, they would be putting specific dollars into apprenticeship programs?
Absolutely, yes. So we've recently modernized the apprenticeship program. So, with that, you're seeing things like an online job platform where it's a lot easier to connect potential employees with employers. So, we're trying to ease that flow. We're trying to give them more access to employers, and like I said, vice versa, giving more employers access to talented people that will be able to fill the gaps that they have, especially when you're looking at something in Northern Ontario, something online. You may be attracting people from down south that are looking to buy a house and settle up here in the north, that, maybe they were part of the community, or maybe they're looking at leaving the southern region. So it will be easier to connect those employers up here in the north with people all over the province and give them the opportunity to come and fill those skills gaps here in Sault Ste. Marie. And I'm encouraged by that. I think that it's a great initiative. I think that they're essential investments when you look at the fact that 1 in 5 jobs is going to be in the trades in the future. So I think that we're planning for that. I think that the plan that we have in place is working, and I think that we have good direction in terms of addressing that future need.
I think it's encouraging as well that more and more young women
Yes.
are being introduced to trades.
Absolutely.
And good paying trade jobs to go into the programs to come out and serve an apprenticeship in the trades. And I find that,
I agree.
that quite exciting as well.
Yeah.
So we have to go to break right now, and we'll be right back with Jaclynne Hamel, candidate for Liberal Party, Sault Ste. Marie. We're back. You're watching Perspective. My guest is Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. Jaclynne, I hear from a lot of young people that are working 2 jobs with a young family, and I keep hearing over and over again that they're struggling to find affordable, quality childcare.
Yes.
What will the Liberal government do about childcare?
So we actually have an excellent healthcare plan. I'm very, very proud of it, and as someone looking to start my own family relatively soon, it's something that I'm looking forward to in terms of support. We're looking at making childcare free for anyone who has a child 2.5 years until they hit full day kindergarten. So this represents a significant investment, not only to create more childcare spaces, which we know that we are having some challenges with, but it's also going to provide people access to quality childcare that is affordable. So it's something that I'm certainly passionate about. Here in the Soo, I'm hearing at the doors just as much as you're hearing out on the street that people are looking for affordable childcare. It's going to allow people to get back to the workforce. So I know, a lot of women and men, they have their kids, they're on leave, and then they wonder, when am I going to get to be able to rejoin the workforce? We're hopeful that this program is going to help people re-enter the workforce so that they can start working earlier. And not only that, but that means a strong economy, right? We're getting people back to work. They're able to start earning an income again right away, and they don't have to worry about where their kids are going to, they're going to get this childcare from. They know that they're going to have access to high quality childcare for their children. And I think that's important.
Will there be a level of care, a standard of care for the child care providers that
Yep.
each facility would have to meet?
Yeah, so it would be for licensed childcare. So licensed childcare in the city, and of course, you know, the government does monitor and regulate all of those licensed childcare spaces. So yeah, there will be a quality of care there that they are able to depend on. And again, you know, I think that it's going to give the opportunity for more spaces to be created. And you know, specifically here in the community, I think that that's a good news piece. I think that, you know, like I said, I'm hearing from young families that this is a support that they need. So now I don't feel is the time for cuts. We need to support people to get back to the workforce.
Absolutely. It's a concern when people can't find childcare or they're worrying about where their child is when they're at work.
Yes.
If they're not being looked after properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're planning a young family yourself by the
Yeah.
sounds of it.
Yes, not anytime soon, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously something that will come into my mind. You know, as a young woman, investments like these make me excited. They make me not worry about how I'm going to re-enter the workforce once I have a child, and I think that that's important. That's something that spoke to me in this platform that I think people are excited about. We're hearing that people need support in this community and across the province. So having a platform that we can point to with a plan to say those supports are there, we're making investments to make sure that you have increased access, I think that that's incredibly important. And it doesn't only speak to me as a candidate who gets to talk about it, but it speaks to me as a young woman, you know, looking to start a family.
So this will be the best child care platform that
Yes.
we've seen to date.
I believe so, yes.
Excellent. Okay. Jaclynne, there's a lot of talk, a lot of upset with the steel tariffs hitting our steel plant
Yes.
here in the Sioux.
Yeah.
Very expensive tariffs.
Yeah.
25%.
That's concerning.
What can we do
Yeah,
about it?
absolutely. So, you know, when this first came up, you saw a government that took decisive action. We introduced legislation right away to start hitting back a bit. Now's not a time for us to be bullied. You know, President Trump has showed that he's part of those tactics are in his arsenal, right? So we want to make sure that we are hitting back with a little bit of force to say we're not your doormat. We're not here to you know, be at the feet of whatever poorly thought out policies that you have, because it affects their economy just as much as it affects ours. So it's concerning to me that he's a leader that doesn't understand the surplus that actually exists. You know, they're not in a deficit with us. It's really quite equal, and anything that impacts our steel market will likely affect theirs. I'm really happy that you know, Premier Wynne today actually just announced that one of our first priorities back, should we be re-elected, is a support package to support the steel industry through this. So we know that this is going to create hardship, and so that's why we're proposing a provincial and federal partnership to help steel industry weather that storm. Essentially, we're looking at you know, equally between the two levels of government, supporting them through. We don't know what this is going to cost the steel industry, right? I mean, there's estimates out there, but we don't know the full impact of that yet. So what we're looking at doing is supporting from both ends of government to make sure that the steel industry stays competitive, not only in our community of Sault Ste. Marie, where it is, of course, the backbone and very, very important, but across the province.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a very critical undertaking right now. If the government can do anything to
Absolutely.
stop this from going forward and affecting.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's time for hard, decisive action. You know, it's like I said, we're not a doormat. We are here. We are responding in an appropriate way, and I think that what you'll see is the Liberal Party has a plan to address that. You know, Doug Ford was here this morning and didn't talk about the tariffs and didn't display a plan that he has in terms of addressing that in a meaningful way. So I think Kathleen Wynne has stood up and she has said, you know, here's the decisive action. We're supporting the federal government in the actions that they want to take, but we're going a step further, and we're going to legislate a support package to make sure that, like I said, the steel industry here remains competitive, because we know how important it is.
So what are those steps?
So as I said, it would be a partnership between the provincial government and the federal government. So like, we don't have the exact cost of how this is going to impact the steel market, right? But what we're suggesting is a support package that will help address that hardship that they're going to be feeling, equal parts that the province will cover and that the federal government will cover, because we know how important steel is to our communities here in Ontario. 70% of steel production occurs in Ontario. In the country's story, steel production occurs in Ontario. So that's important, you know, it employs thousands of people. So we want to make sure that we have a reasonable plan in place that is going to address this.
Thank you. We just have to go to break again, and we'll be right back with Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. We're back. You're watching Perspective. I'm Katherine G. McRae, and my guest is Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. Jaclynne, why should Sault Ste. Marie vote for you?
So I think I represent a progressive voice for this community. When I saw the Ontario 2018 budget and then what became the Ontario Liberal Party platform, I was really encouraged that it was based on care. It was not based on cuts. This means significant investments in healthcare, mental health supports, care for our seniors, childcare. It was hitting a lot of the issues that are very close to me and that I know are close to this community. So I want to say that I think that we have a very well-rounded platform that addresses the concerns of the people who live here, all of them. We're not just making a few promises, we are addressing almost every single concern that we have heard from the voters, and we're doing it in a meaningful way. It's a very level approach. So we're able to make investments in care while also supporting small business, ensuring that we have a competitive business economy. So those are the types of things that I think set us above everyone else. We have a fully costed platform that hits on everything.
Okay, so with that, why would you personally want people to vote for you? Not just through the Liberal platform, but why Jaclynne Hamel?
So local representation matters, you know. I think that it's really important to have a young person who has some fresh ideas. I think that this community could really use that. And so I'm wanting to bring that perspective. But on top of that, I think that it's important to hear what Sioux Whites have to say. And at the end of the day, I'm their advocate. That's what I do. I am there to hear what they have to say, hear what their concerns are, hear what services and supports they need, which is what we're hearing from people. They're not saying they need cuts. They're saying we need a little bit more support here. I then take that back to Queen's Park and I fight for it. That's my job, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing for you.
Okay, Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. Jaclynne, we have viewers watching this program. They're seeing the debates and the other candidates. A lot of people haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
They're waiting till the very end to hear all views, everyone's perspective. Why would you ask them to vote for you? What is that one sentence, if you will, or one thought that our viewers could take away?
So what do you want your community to look like? That's my question to you. Do you want it to be based in cuts, or do you want it to be based in care? I think it's important that we make investments to make sure we're caring for everyone.
Thank you. That's Jaclynne Hamel, Liberal candidate for Sault Ste. Marie. I'm Katherine McRae. This is Perspective. Till next time, what's your perspective?